been in the place to be. So we want to see if anybody's around tonight. Calling you, calling you, calling you, calling you. See what we got. See where you are. Just live here tonight. It depends on the afternoon. Depends on where you are in the universe. Gotta put some stuff down. Let's see. Doing some reading real quick. Let's see. What's happening, yo? What's happening? What's happening? I saw that you appreciate your feedback on that video. Thank you for that request. I did that video, and it was strange because talking about Vince Carter, and I remember it like yesterday. And he had a good career with the Nets, but when he went to the Nets, 04 05, right? Dwayne Wade came into the league and emerged. Melo came into the league and was emerging. T-Mac had gotten bigger. Kobe had, was in his run. Shaq and Duncan, Shaq was still like the end of the prime, but he still was a factor. Allen Iverson, and LeBron. So the thing is that it's kind of ironic when it's kind of like it was really interesting, to put it mildly. So where he fit in, because in all honesty, he got old quick. By the time he got to the Nets in that era, he became a side piece. And he almost became an afterthought. And it wasn't like, it was like years. It was just like a matter of a mere few years. That's the crazy thing about Vince Carter. So yeah, except the problem is that they were too much of the same. Carter, RJ, and Kenyon. And as great as Kid was, it just didn't fuse the right way. It just didn't hit like it's supposed to. And those things usually don't work. Lob City, I'm gonna make a profound statement this early on in the live chat. Lob City is kind of like buck dancing. It don't usually end well. Because if you think about it, most of the times with Lob City, it doesn't really manifest to a lot of championships. I mean, yes, you have some dunks and some moments, but usually it has to be a lot of ground and movement and round. And Lob City has not been what I call, yeah, it really doesn't end well. Because, I mean, you got some people who are asking, will Sean Kemp be a Hall of Famer? Will Blake Griffin be a Hall of Famer? Jason Richardson? Think about it. So, it's something that I really, because again, only when I go live do I have these kind of conversations. It's not something that comes up in my general request. But Lob City, and I bring this up too because I only do this live and I'm not going to make a video about it. This is how I come to the defense of LeBron James never being in the slam dunk contest, because if he were only known for springs, and he got springs, and he has some of the best in-game dunks, you could definitely say he's a top 10 in-game dunker, if nothing else. And not where you put him, but you could definitely make a case for him in game dunks. However, yeah, again, he's picking on white boys. He's being so random because he's been coming after brothers. That's why he's coming after white boys. Dolph Shades would probably would have skinned his behind. What's happening? How you doing? Where you coming from tonight? You gotta remember what he's doing. I read that yesterday, and I didn't really pay a lot of mind because I thought, wow, he's picking some white dude out of random who was a good player for his time. Great for his time. One thing he's going to do, though, which might backfire, is he's going to make people actually get educated and look these guys up. That's what he's going to fool around and do. He figure if he can Archie Bunker, JJ Bunker it, and disrespect everything that came behind him. That's what I'm gonna start calling him, JJ Bunker, JJ Riddick Bunker. That's the new name. He's trying to be the most offensive person he can be. I guess that's just gonna be his shtick, because he sure as heck ain't gonna be for his memorable All Star career. But that's his new nickname with me, JJ Riddick Bunker. So I got to get the copyright of it right now. I figure if I offend and alienate everybody, yeah, JJ Bunker and Vinny. Well, no, it's Vinny. It's Vinny Ramsey. That's what I call him, Vinny Ramsey, like Chef Ramsey, because he's cooking up a dish that he's gonna pass for white. So Vinny Ramsey. That's what I call that turkey. But I guess he's trying to offend everybody in the intelligence. What he ends up doing is making people more aware of stuff. So yeah, that's the downside to him. So you know, well, if he's trying to say he's old, if that's a backhand way of saying he's old, I mean, you can. I mean, he's had some moments, but if you remember that game a few years ago when literally Kyle Cover literally woke him up to on defense. I mean, he has some moments, but his defense has deteriorated. But I don't know what Stephen A is trying to say with it, though. I don't know what he's trying to say. Make it make sense, Stephen A. He might could. But what's his point? Now that Jokic has been beating y'all back to back years, now all of a sudden it's fashionable. Better coach. George Karl. He got his team to the finals. You play to win the games. Now, if we're going by creative coaches, it's D'Antoni. And D'Antoni and Don Nelson would be an intriguing matchup for his, you know. But if we're going by the most you get out of your team where you go, it's George Karl. And it really ain't that close. George Karl been to the finals, Western Conference Finals. D'Antoni went to a Western Conference Finals, but and of course with the Rockets. But how did it turn out? With with better talent overall. Now, I could take Gary Payton. I don't know what you mean, so you're gonna have to specify. And if you act like you're trolling, you're gonna be eliminated. Um, I think Gary was better than Steve Nash, but Steve Nash has got more of a legendary career. He ran him out, but the Knicks let him ran him out because they were paying Melo to be a top tier player. Lynn Sandy was considered like a fad. And pretty much, if you think about it, aside from that run in New York, which did buy him a decade long, and he did get that ring with Toronto, He didn't exactly let the, you know, I know, but I'm gonna see if it says anything else stupid. The Melo part I can argue with. That first part I'm on. Usually when these trolls say something that's ignorant, then they get the boom. So let me see what he says again. Only Melo in them to get the styling. So you can make that argument, but you gotta. But I'm not arguing that point. But how Jeremy Lin did play good enough when he was in New York. Not much after, but enough to keep a career for a decade long till he got that ring in Toronto in 2019. So, but anyway, Ted, George Karl did better with more teams. Now, D'Antoni did better with individual players. I didn't say. I said when you come up on Hispanic coaches, don't give Hispanic players a shot. I have nothing to do with that. But if you must know your history about the NBA, you do know Vinny Del Negro, don't you? He got hired by the LA Clippers. Please look him up. Look him up. Do Asians get overlooked in what capacity? You talking about NBA coaches? They have, yes, they do. And Eric Spoelstra is of Asian descent as a head coach. So before someone comes and says something, please Google. Let Google be your friend. Now, I don't mind if you're going to be angry, but you at least get your facts straight. If you can play, you can play. Yao Ming was of Asian descent. Is he a Hall of Famer? And what's his name? Ving Wang, the one that played for the Dallas Mavericks. They remember that cat was like 7'9". And okay, you got to explain, Ted, because I got a take on that one. Not in these restaurants. Well, what they do. So it depends on what you mean by hiring, because I gotta address that one. Um, hmm. That depends on what the profession is, what the job is. I went to. I want to say, have I ever? Huh. White establishments don't really. They used to hire them on the trains. Back in the day, everybody was named George. Um, but I went to restaurants. They wouldn't have black waiters. It depends on where you are. Oh yeah, well yeah. I don't know if I'd say he worked him over. How many championships did Yao Ming win? How did Yao Ming do against Tim Duncan, who was a more of a formidable? Uh, no, he didn't keep no weight on him. And how he look with Tracy McGrady? And did he dominate the league much? If he don't get hurt, is he good as Jokic? Is he good as Olajuwon? Was he ever as prime as Shaquille O'Neal, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? I don't think so. David Robinson? I don't think so. Y'all was in the good range. Shaq was better. Shaq was better. You never seen Yao Ming. You heard that when Tracy McGrady came there, Tracy McGrady actually said the craziest thing, talking about we're gonna be the new Shaq and Kobe 2.0. How did that turn out? If you're gonna come here and you remind me of somebody that always likes to Ted, who he remind you of recently? Who he remind you of? Who remind you of? I'm gonna see if you can guess, Ted, who this cat remind me of. Angry mess. Yep. That's what he neither one of them was gonna be no Shaq or no Kobe. Look, I love T Mac, offensively very talented player, but he didn't ever put the emphasis on And remember, if you remember 20 years ago, 21 years ago, when they were up 3-1 against Detroit, he said, I see you in the second round. Then he turned around and lost the next 3 games to the Pistons. Can't really take him too seriously. And his postseason career wasn't that memorable, and neither was Yao Ming's. You know, I thought Yao was a good center. I don't put him in the great category. And I don't really know where he would have fit. If I go back in the 90s, I'm not even going to the 80s. I'm gonna go to the 90s. I don't know where he fit. I don't know if he was better than Rick Smits. I don't know. Yao Ming was as good as Dwight Howard in the OOs. So I mean, if he don't get hurt, Tyler, that's funny. Okay, okay. Then Timmy LC was better than Timmy. He wasn't up to second tier level. Ted, second tier. We're gonna go by tiers on this. He wasn't first tier, so let's get that out the way. Y'all ain't first tier. I ain't trying to hear that mess. But if you say second tier, I'll give you that. You give me second tier, I will say he was a good second tier. Well, he did have. Wasn't Grant Hill with Orlando? Or did I miss something? Did I not miss it? Grant Hill in Orlando. And did they not go up 3-1 against Detroit in the first round? They wasn't some buster butt broke team. So I want to know all this, you know. Well, no, I'm just strictly checking about second tiers. I'm not even going to go there. I don't think so. Because T Mac and Grant Hill were playing together at the time. I don't think so. Because Grant Hill got traded from Detroit. He left Detroit. And Doc Rivers didn't bring T Mac. Bring Jim Duncan because of the whole airplane crap and that old crap. They were supposed to form a super team in Orlando, so I don't think so. And then get to me where before, because Grant went to Phoenix after. He looked pretty good in Phoenix. Anyway, 90 centers. Let's just keep it 100 to let me see the backup crew. That's where Yao Ming is at. That's where he's at. That's where he falls under the tree. Like I got Yao Ming over Vlade Divac. Oh, he's not the worst coach ever. He do got 2 championship. He got 1 championship and 1 runner up. Okay. If we talking about outside and we talking about um being able to when jokers can shoot better outside, that might wear Zoe down. If we're talking inside the paint, the way they play, no. He put some wood on Jokic. If you watch Rasheed Wallace, she told you what you got to do against Jokic. You got to hit him back. Rudy gone soft is too scared to hit him back. You can make that argument there. You could make that argument. They did get the 2 finals. It depends on what rules we're talking about. I could see it, but it depends on the rules. But who says Jokic would even stepped in front of him? Remember something. We've never seen Jokic flop. So, and you got to remember what you're talking about. I would imagine they try to play a heavy zone against Shaq. I'd imagine they'd stunt with a bunch of double teams and try to get the ball out of his hand. Well, they got blew out in game 6. Game 7, you can make a strong case. The Rasheed Wallace at center position was the best move, but Doc got out structured in that series. They lost one game in Boston. Ray Allen had that insane one game, and then Doc would follow formula and didn't understand that one game meant something completely different. But it was a pretty, I thought, the end of the road for both teams, if you must know. I thought Boston couldn't get no better, and I thought the Lakers were out of gas. And that's what consequently happened. Neither team made the finals again. The Celtics did make the Eastern Conference Finals again, where they lost to Miami and so on and so forth. However, they were never the same, and the Lakers got old when they got Dwight Howard and Nash and all that. So it's debatable. All right, what's up? Okay, there's two parts to that, Ted. I'm gonna say two things can be true. They looking good, but they're not playing anybody they can't beat. To me, they should have won this series in 5 games. And to me, the two things with OKC, they don't have they don't have a cherry picker, and it really comes down to their offense more than the defense. I think they're evenly matched with Dallas on defense. I'm not that impressed by Dallas's defense. It's just the OKC can't shoot. They don't have the firepower. That's it, really, in a nutshell. I really don't see, but it comes down to experience. And Kyrie and Luke has been, but PJ Washington, when you mention the two picks, it's noticeable. But it's not like Shea's doing what Shea things. They just don't get open. Some of it is defense, but a lot of it's because they can't shoot. They don't really have guys that can really pick and pop. And they're getting exposed. Coaching comes into hand too. So, it might not be fashionable to say. And of course the powers that be want of course they want Jokic and Luca battling. Makes logical sense. Well, Shannon's tap dancing for him now because he got humble pied about Brady. Because what happened was what happened with Belichick. He used to ride 75-25, but after what happened to Belichick the last couple of years after Brady won that Super Bowl, he had to do a 180. That's how I know he's bought and paid for right there. That he was all ready to go front and center for a coach as opposed to a dominant quarterback. And obviously they told him all that the Patriots the T ain't been held back. Everybody said it. Well, his whole formula with him and Ocho Cinco is about roasting. But he's sensitive too. He be sensitive. Brady's now part of the media, so Shannon's got to be on his P's and Q's. He ain't gonna be so critical of him now. But everything that people done said about Shaq and Jokic and stuff, they said the same thing about Shannon and Brady. Pot calling the kettle black, even though in the Shaq argument, I get why Shaq. And then Shaq is petty at times, and he do be, you know, he do get in his feelings. But I understand why he feel like he did because it's coming down MVP and coming down where you stand. But Shannon got called all the way out with Brady. There's the difference. Well, a white man emasculated him on TV, which eventually led to him leaving the network. But one of the reasons. But if Shannon wants to be on these networks, he's got to learn. He's got to slurp. He ain't got no choice. No, you don't, because he politics too much. And I'm gonna tell you why I don't want him to have one. He brings up some interesting takes. However, he's pretty predictable. I mean, everybody he likes is what you expect. He's gonna give the Jordan, Kobe, with LeBron, Shaq. He's gonna give you the standardized. He ain't gonna come out. The real Iverson was in Slam magazine back in 96, 97, because he asked him, he said, I want Latrell Sprewell's game. That's what he said. I remember the quote. He said, I don't want Jordan's game, I want Spree's game. He talked differently. Not hating on time at all. What's happening? How y'all doing? What's up, time? Not hating on Brady at all. I think Brady is the arguably, you either say no, I'm not saying that. I'm explaining that about that. No. I said that some of his takes, you can tell he balances out. I know he loved Kobe and he loved Jordan. But there's certain things that you know, he's company man. He don't say nothing controversial. Not that I've heard. Nobody hates on Brady. Brady's either the greatest quarterback or, argument, arguably greatest player. Depends. No hate. I was a big Brady fan, but I think Patrick Mahomes about there surpassed him now. I'm gonna say that. Yeah, I didn't really care for it. Some of it I just thought it was cringy and just lowbrow humor. Um, oh, there's an argument. There is an argument. There is an argument. You can make an argument for Lawrence Taylor. You can make an argument for Jim Brown. I don't know about him being his daddy. He won a ring off him in an AFC Championship game, but last I checked, Mahomes is 3-1 in the Super Bowl. So makes no difference. Mahomes got 3 rings and 3 Super Bowl MVPs and 2 league MVPs, and that don't really gonna carry weight because Mahomes is right there, and he's running away with his era. I'm not even gonna even say it about the rest. No, I disagree with that one. AM Lawrence Taylor made that difference. I seen him take out a whole NFC East. He dominated. There was no quarterback in the NFC East that was a match for Lawrence Taylor. That's why he was league MVP. Look it up. I'm not taking nothing from Brady. Brady was clutch. He led the teams down the stretch. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to say this like this. Brady, you can make the case as the GOAT quarterback. I'm not going to have no problem with that. But Mahomes is on his behind. He's on his behind. 2-0 means what? What's 2-0 mean when a guy's dominating right now? That don't make no difference. You dominate what you got in front of you. Washington was a dominant team. Uh, Let me go back and rewind the clock. Washington was a Super Bowl caliber. They were the standards. Dallas went to 3 straight NFC Championship games. What you talking about? Philadelphia was decent. They weren't great, but they were decent. Ron Jaworski would not. No, he dominated. Well, we can go even further. They beat everybody that was in front of them because they manhandled the 49ers. Now, when you win a league MVP and you're a defensive player and you're dominant, no one is going to ever question how great he was. So what you're trying to spew ain't that deep. He was that dominant. And I'm going to keep it 100. I don't even know, in hindsight, would Phil Simmons be any much better than Nick Foles? Let's keep it 100. So that's all you need to know. Yeah, you can. Because there are plenty of Bill Belichick will tell you that. He'll tell you that. Nah, I give him at least Nick Foles because he did do good in that Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos. Andy Dalton ain't never been on that level. Phil Simmons was better than Andy Dalton today and twice next Monday. I'd say Nick Foles like have an impact. If you're top five, and you can also say Deion Sanders is in that argument too, because you ain't seen nothing like Deion Sanders, who impacted the game multiple ways. So don't act like there aren't people that you can't put in that argument. And Deion belongs in that argument. He belongs in that argument. Yeah. But they forget the white folks probably will do that. I wouldn't hate. But then again, if Mahomes wins another Super Bowl and he three-peats, they may put him as the logo. So you never know. He didn't have to talk or tackle your sister. His game was so dominant that Cats gave him the day off. And I'm gonna tell you something right now about Deion Sanders because I saw with my own eyes. He's the only corner cat in the secondary I ever saw that could what's happening. Only cat I know who played defense with a do rag on his head. So that should tell you how dominant he was. Kept a do rag on. Cats would not even throw his way all day. And he had to do kickoff returns. Mahomes is a great player, yo. Shoot, Mahomes is like Tiger Woods and everybody else is like Sergio Garcia. Come on now. I didn't say Phil Nicholson because ain't nobody won nothing in the Mahomes era. I'm see if they're gonna still talk that crazy talk about Mahomes being the best player in the NFL, but uh, Burrows being the best quarterback. Let's see if they talk that crackhead talk. Yeah, because they did. They was like, "Oh, Jeff Burrow." They said he's the best quarterback, but Mahomes the best player. They was saying that crackhead talk when they went to the Super Bowl. And then what happened to Burrow? What happened to Burrows after that? And I like Burrows too. Burrows a bad white boy, but he can't stay healthy. They got a janky butt offensive line. And they're in a situation where that division is tougher now. Now that Pittsburgh got their quarterback, Cleveland get their quarterback, and then you get obviously with Lamar. Yeah, of course their racism showing. The heck they talking about? They was because they got scared of him. They said that crap, crackheads. No, but I just admire him. I think him. I'm gonna say it like this: mad respect for him because I wanted him on my team. Andy Reid. Now Andy Reid's a made man. You can't even talk about head coaches without putting Andy Reid at the table. So he a made man. Kelsey's a bad boy, even though it's a bit much, but I mean, they are, and of course, what's his name on the defense attack? What's his butt they got from Seattle? Because he comes up huge on defense. I mean, he's big on the front. So they got their main cats. I respect them. They're the standards. They are the standards. Make no mistake about it. They are the standards. Because you don't see someone 4 Super Bowls, three out of four. That's dominance, yo. And we're in an era where we have nothing. But we say white boy talkers because in America with 3Ks, if you watch my videos, white folks have a tendency to always break stuff down. Chris Jones, that's right. They have a tendency to say it's an old school thing. No one really says Brown per se. Chris Jones is huge for Kansas City. He missed that first game against Detroit. They win that game if he plays because it was actually just a stop in that game why they lost that game. That should have been the Super Bowl too, by the way, but that's another story. But no, I got much respect for Mahomes, y'all. And I didn't see enough of a sample size. He's in my top 3 ever quarterbacks. So I don't need to see no more. And when you factor in his stats and his dominance and everything he's done, and yeah. When we say a white boy, we talking about how the industry and people do. I know it's disrespectful. I'm saying that we say that because that's how they like to push somebody. They do. That's how we talk. I'm on a live stream. I'm not in face to face. So, and I'm talking about how people talk. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it to. Well, see, for instance, if I was talking about Justin Bieber, he would be a white boy to me because I'm older than him, and he would be like he's a kid to me. He's a grown man, but he'd be like a kid. I saw it. I saw how they took her butt to the ground too. They roughed her up. Problem she gonna run into is that she might get away with some of them high screen picks where they green light, but when she come in the lane with that mess, they gonna send her and that garbage to the ground, which they did. She lightened the cakes, and it's a physical game. And you're gonna be prey for a lot of them who just don't like the fact that you're getting all this shine and you ain't paid your dues. Not to mention you didn't win in college. You won, you got to score a lot of points and all that. Yeah. She got called for traveling too. I watched it. I saw that. And so one thing about it, she drags her feet. She takes those big scoops and they gonna watch her. You gotta learn how to plant your feet. Now if I'm her, I call Reggie Miller. If I'm gonna be flat footed, I call Reggie. They've always had stars. The problem is that they don't get support because the NBA didn't use them as a tax write-off. That's the problem. Ain't that they didn't have no stars. What the heck you think Lisa Leslie was, Cheryl Swoops was, Cynthia Cooper was? They had stars, Dana Taurasi. Come on now. I know them. Exactly. And somebody hits her with a face shot for a screen, she gonna get knocked out. They had a chance, Tina Thompson. They did in the 90s. I'd say the 90s till about the early O's, they could. But the NBA just ended up using them as a tax deduction. That's what happened. But it ain't because they had no talent. And it ain't because the NBA was 5 times superior, because it wasn't. I mean, let me keep it 100 right now. More people cared about this WNBA draft than they've cared about the NBA draft. No one cared about the college tournament this year compared to WNBA to the college basketball women's. So you can't sit there and say that they couldn't bring some excitement. There was a lot more going with the women's than it was with the men in college this year. Not even close. That's because you got all these sellout janky folks up here slurping Bronny James and stuff because they ain't got nothing out there to get excited about. And who cares about a guy trying to make camp or make a squad that under regular circumstances, this would never even be half a broadcast. Nobody would care. Well, it's easy to say that now. It wasn't always the case. Wasn't always the case. So anyway, she got her work cut out for her though. I said that. I said Cynthia Cooper. And Cynthia Cooper was bad. And then they got Cheryl Swoops. Brittany Griner was actually good once upon a time. Had a nice post-up game. But that trade-off was that should tell you something right there. Someone that gets busted for a little tablespoon of marijuana for notorious murder, that's crazy. That's crazy. But that's gangster. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Especially when you go to one of the most whitest countries in the world and they got real archaic rules and they don't like no Negroes. So I'm like, can you just get more strikes left and right? Can you just, you know, you too tall for your jail cell. Legs was hanging all out the cell. Dreads was hanging out the cell. You know. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she's done it before, and I'm sure she's gone there before. I ain't stupid. However, they were waiting on her behind this time. They were waiting on her. You give the clan a reason, they'll definitely give you a boom. Oh well, the thing is this: for people like when we're talking about sellouts, we're talking about people that sell out, no matter if they black, Indian, Mexican, Asian. It's predominant. It's for people that sell out their race. So butter up is that they get like you put on a roll or a bun or croissant or whatever, right? And they think they're acceptable. It's yeah. And then they get the boom. Like Vivek Ramaswamy, when he had that interview with Ann Culver. I don't know if you saw that with Ann Culver. And she told Vivek, she says, "You're very intelligent and you're better than those black Americans." And and he was all excited and he was grinning and happy. She said, "But I'm not gonna vote for you because you're Indian." And then his smile went upside down, and that was the boom. So Vivek, if you see Vivek Ramaswamy got his butter up, and then he got the boom. He like somebody gaslight, get you excited, and then boom, they pull the plug on you. That's what it means. Kind of like you never seen the Coyote and the Roadrunner. Yeah, you get that moment, and then you thinking you all good, and boom. Oh, what's up, Rizza? It's a great question. Great question. Great question. I like this one. I like this one. I would say a star. Um, he had the makings to be a superstar. Gary Payton did hit that level. Kemp was exciting and fun and all that, but it's no. If he was a superstar, he'd be a Hall of Famer. He ain't no Hall of Famer. He was the pre. He's the pre, his yeah. Aside from that one series against Karl Malone, I think it was in '96, he didn't utilize his strengths, and he relied. He had a little outside shot. He never took his game to another level. He played out his mind in that finals against the Bulls, and that was the last time I saw Shawn Kemp realistically. The real looking like he was on his next level. Never was the same after that. You know, he was athletic, yes, and for a moment, one of the best in game dunkers, the Rain Man, all that. But it was like I said, a precursor to what to what Blake Griffin was. Oh, Shawn Kemp wins. Shawn Kemp, because he went to the finals and he had moments. Blake Griffin didn't ever come up big in the postseason. He had the ooh and the ah, but he never had the continuation. That's not even close. That's not even close. Even with Blake Griffin being a slam dunk contest and dunking over a Kia and having a gospel choir sing "I Believe I Can Fly," no, 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 no. Mm-mm, mm-mm. And those are guys that some people will argue they should be Hall of Famers. Some people are gonna, but they got to remember those guys had a window. Quiet as kept. Vince Carter was their role model, but he gets in the Hall of Fame, and he was a good, and he had some numbers, but he's like their role model. He's like the godfather of those two, because he's a borderline Hall of Famer himself, and I like Vince too. He was more talented than both them guys too. So Hal Greer was a great player, very talented cat, and I've seen much footage of him. He was bad. Okay, Riz, a good question. Now his NBA career didn't match his college career. Um, his father drove him for better or for worse, and he's one of the top 5 greatest college players. His career wise, his pro career, he was in bad markets, underachieving teams. He was with the Celtics right before at that last run when he retired, but he had spent a lot of time with subpar teams, and they didn't have the NBAs you have today. But one of the baddest cats is just that it didn't match because he wasn't in again, situations. Those situations, everything. Oh man. And as far as impact on Magic, well, they played 2 different styles. Magic Magic's situation was the ideal, you know. Um Probably would have been like a black version of Pistol Pete in a small market. Would have been like something legendary, but without the TV time and the nuance, I don't know if it would have quite been the same. That's a great question. Yeah, Hal was a bad dude. My college basketball teams, they all back in the day. Yes, it was in '67. Anything with UCLA between Kareem and former Lou Alcindor and Bill Walton, those UCLA teams were incredible. Carolina teams in the '80s, Georgetown in the '80s. Um, Michigan Wolverines, they didn't win it in the '90s, but that's personal. UNLV '90. I respect Duke. I can't stand Duke, but they were one of the best ones. So yeah, it was '67. I like Florida back in '07, '08. Those usually could be. No, no. Don't say nothing crazy like that. Because that's a disrespect. And there may be 8 teams, those guys could play. Shoot, those guys are like Harlem Globetrotters. I know. Heck no. Just because the team dominates in college, get your feelings hurt on the next level. James Worthy, third best option. Let me think. No, I don't know. Um, Depends on which teams we're comparing it to. Depends on what teams we're comparing it to. Because if I put Worthy's Laker third option to Klay Thompson's third option with the 17-18 Warriors, that's a close call. And you know how crazy Klay could go off and how impactful he was. Worthy did win a Finals MVP, but I have to think about other third options. So let me get back on that one. Let me digest that one for a moment. Um, he wouldn't have really worked there. Melo style wouldn't have worked there because he would have needed the ball in a certain spot. and Larry Brown wasn't going to play him. I think Dwayne Wade would have been a better fit for the Pistons style wise because he gave in and out of himself. Melo needed to have like a certain section, and I don't think they would have benched Tayshaun Prince for that. I think that would have messed up their chemistry. But I think Wade would have been a better fit there, if I'm honest. Uh, yeah, you think about the pit. Best 6 man. Oh, Robert Ory. Oh, come on now. Who's gonna argue against Robert Ory? Who? He didn't have to dribble around middle school kids because middle school kids couldn't stop his shot. Now, and he was known as clutch too. Game 6 Clay. It made no difference. Can he shoot? He didn't even have to dribble. He the only player I ever seen pick, pop, boom. When he was in his peak in his prime, pick, pop, boom. Say that 3 times. Pick, pop, boom. That was Clay. Ain't seen nothing like it. That ain't seen nothing like it. And as a matter of fact, before they started this mockery of everybody and their mama, you get 50 points, you get 60 points, and you can flirt with 70. He was the only dude that I thought that had a chance to be the link between Wilt and Kobe. Because if he get hot, he could go off. And when he went off, they blew your butt out. No disrespect to Curry, because Curry was the better player and all that. But when Clay went off, they beat your butt. Clay. Reggie ain't had no handles. Reggie dribbled. Reggie was more known for putting that knee out, kick out, and frailing. And it was a great art form that he did. He's the godfather of the kick step that Dirk and Durant do. But they ain't call it offensive foul now. But he was the godfather of that mess. But come on now, Clay, come on now. Clay could move that rock. Clay was bad. Zoe, because he had an offensive game. Zoe fit in better with your style. But Mutombo was an important player in the postseason. That's, you know, I ain't talking about that kind of kick. I'm talking about when you standing outside on the perimeter and you trying to separate space, and he would throw that foot and then he would frail. And he was the king of that. They had to change the rules because of Reggie Miller. That's why you can no longer lean into a defensive player when you're shooting behind the line. That's the Reggie Miller rule. J Will, aka Angry Mexican, whatever name you go by, that's what's up. That's what's up. It's the Reggie Miller rule. Carmelo did that stuff in the box. You didn't know what? Didn't know what? What you didn't know? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, okay, because it's not because they changed the rules for when guys would stand behind the 3-point line and they would pump and then they frail into and they stop. And he was the reason why he would kick you. He put his stick his foot out, and then he would fall in and get them shots. And that's how and he used and it was a good trick. They stopped that now. That's why sometimes when Steph shoots a three and he falls back, or Jason Tatum does it all the time. He rolls like he's a seal. They don't call that 3-point play no more. That was the Reggie rule. Reggie used to get away with stuff like that all the time. So they stopped that. The Reggie got away with that. Reggie made that fashionable. Yeah, you can look at his old form. You'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah. I ain't gonna even lie about that. He did. He rolled and buggled up. And I'm like, you know, Tatum does it good too. He did last night. Rolled up like a seal on his back. Fall back and he shoots a three and he folds up, folds back. And then he look at the ref like, I see Tatum pulling that mess all the time. If they could get away with it now, he'd have been like, you'd have think Reggie was his daddy. Because Tatum does it worse than Steph does it. At least when Steph does it, when he falls in, it's because of the way he shoots in his flares. But Tatum does it like a Reggie move. Yeah, Rudy Gobert, there's no argument there. He ain't Ben Wallace and he ain't Olajuwon. Good question, Rudy. You bringing the heat tonight. I love these questions. Christian Laettner probably come to mind. And you could make a strong case for Carmelo Anthony if you want to be technical, because for all them points he scored, he'll be knocking on the door. He'll be knocking on the door. I'm not quite ready to say top 10, but he'll be knocking on the door. He'll definitely be knocking on the door. He'll probably fit the 11th slot. I'll have to think about how I look at it, but he'll be 12, 11. He'll easily be 11, 12. That's not up for discussion if he does that this year. Because once you factor in his triple doubles and the numbers start to kick in, it'll be kind of hard. And he will be polarizing when it's all said and done too. Yeah, Riz, and I also would tell you Ralph Sampson. I know injuries played a part, but it didn't happen like it's supposed to. So I'd say Sampson, Christian Laettner, um, Melo, and I'll tell you an obscure name, Stanley Roberts, LSU, because he was better than Shaq at LSU, arguably. Didn't really happen. I never really looked at Jay like that. Not really. Not really. Good, but I didn't look at him like that. Not me, I didn't. Maybe you did. Jokic would have been interesting in the 80s. When you look at Alex English, what they had in the 80s when they scored all them points, those games they played 40 years ago, I think he would have been an interesting piece with Dan Issel, Kiki Vandeweghe. It would have been interesting in that era. The 90s, not so much. Because the way they get physical with you, and I don't, I think the 80s he'd have had a better chance style with the team that was in Denver. Actually, though, him with my dude Raul playing point would have been interesting if Dikembe and LaFonso Ellis and then McDyess came along. But think he had a better chance to shine more in the 80s, though, especially with Alex English. Would have been interesting with a high scoring. I don't think the half court thing would have worked in his favor in the 90s. That's the difference. 80s was running and gunning and identity. The 90s was like slowed down to a snail's pace. So I think he would have done better with the 80s. I don't know about the 90s. You talking about Elton Brand? Mecca did look good. That's you on fire tonight. You are definitely bringing some heaters. I did like Okafor. It didn't turn out much in the NBA. Elton Brand was what we call just really good. And that's as good as it got. I like DB, but he was a good solid player. Not great. Better than average, but that was it. Calipari is a gangster, yo. He just finessed himself out of one gig to another. And he's gonna get paid. And he's a gangster. And me and Taylor tell you, he falls into the Fisher Price mobile now because that dude been sitting collecting the top bag for like 20 years, ain't done nothing relevant, but he always is the first cat that gets the mic put on his face, and he always got a quote or something to say. Won that one ring, and that's it. He bought himself a life pass. I ain't mad at him though. I ain't mad. Pretty much. Man, pretty much. Just like Rick Pitino. hmm Sometimes it's the system, coaching, your health, and your mental focus. It falls in one of them categories. But a lot of times for these cats, it depends on who they get drafted by, who they coach. Yeah, there's a little Italy going on. Definitely. Um, It depends on those factors, really. If you don't have the right coach and the right system, you can come in and lose about 3 or 4 years of your career. Yeah, you've definitely been on here before because Ted always uses that term, parking cone. Yeah, but if you got an inside outside, if you got any kind of offensive game, they can overlook that. Believe me, they'll allow guys for their shortcomings on defense if they got anything on offense. His offensive game was too lame, so that's what's up. Karl Malone, Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, John Stockton, Elgin Baylor. Um, I can't knock Bart. I mean, he was all right. I mean, if you call a guy solid, that means you don't have no expectations from him. You mean he was gonna be pretty good, middle of the road. He wasn't gonna be, you know. So you can't diss him like that. He say solid but settle. Listen, if you settle, that's bummy behavior. That's almost saying the guy had a chance to be great. He didn't. Wagner was nice for a moment. For a moment. For a moment. Yeah, he was nice for a moment. Yeah, I never call nobody a parking cone. If on offense, I say you self check. And on defense, I just say that you a pole. No, there's something he said. I just say that you just a pole. That's all. You know, traffic cone. I might just call you like a dead end. That's what I might call you. They say you a dead end sign. That's what I pretty much would say. I don't think his injuries caught up with him. I also think he just had the heart and the mind. You know, he talked about he wanted to go home and yeah, that's a good one, Riz. I'm gonna address that. But Deron Williams, with that whole mess he messed up in Utah, his career was never the same. He messed his own self up. He was top flight as a point guard and never ended. Dead end is just what I call him because it's dark and it ain't going nowhere. That's my term for him. You dead end. You know how my terms are. You know how I talk. That's how I talk like that for real. In real time, I say you dead end. On offense, you self check. You self serve. And defense, you dead end. Nothing but no light at the end of the tunnel. We at the end of the road. We just going to the dungeon. Okay, Riz. Yeah, I think so. You know, he had that old man shot. He played like for instance, that finals against Kobe, the way he played, even though that wheelchair bit was hilarious, but who shot JR, who shot PP. But um, yeah, he had an incredible moment. He had some big time moments. He was tough. I think it's because he had that old man. His style just didn't. It was just too uh meat and potatoes, and they just. It is crazy because Dwayne Wade was a better player. Doesn't Paul Pierce is not in the same universe as Dwayne Wade? Are you kidding me? No one holds Paul Pierce except for Boston fans or people like that. Nobody holds him in the same regards as D Wade. Got robbed, led the league in scoring in 2009, 2010. Look it up. Had the same scoring averages Steph Curry's undisputed unanimous MVP year. Look it up. Well, you by yourself on that one. Most people don't. It's not up for discussion. And besides, you saying outside of a finals, you talking about outside of a guy who dominated, who won a finals MVP, who's put the team on his back. Paul Pierce ain't never been on that level. Never. Didn't make no difference. He could have gotten MVP. And he led the league in scoring. Nothing Paul Pierce is going. Um, they were a playoff team. Oh, that's a good one. Ooh. Ooh. Braun needed him because Braun didn't know how to win. And remember how Braun got left out of Cleveland. That's how I'm gonna know who you are. I gotta say Wes Unseld because the dude was a rookie of the year MVP, back-to-back finals, won a chip. Wes was a bad boy and an incredible passer. Only people seeing his passing are Kevin Love and Jokic, really, when you understand the Wes Unseld pass game was incredible. Josh Hart was not forgotten, it just underachieved a bit. That's all. He needed he needed him, but he won, and with him or not, when he took over. They still got to the second round of playoffs. That's what made Wade formable. And Shaq was watching him on TV with Lamar Odoms and them. Remember, Wade was legit, yo. Wade was legit. And he scared people for a while. I never really got it with Odoms. I thought he had talent, but I thought he underachieved. I think he underachieved. He was the goods and he could move and do all that, but I just never felt his game. Oh, now you like Angry Mexican. Wanted me to delete him early. Now y'all cool with him. Yeah, because when people say stuff that people agree with, then all of a sudden they all pally-wally. I'm not. It's got the J Will all the way. Too much similarity. And I don't understand what no cheating first round means. I make that case for any team or marquee person. Well, you can make the case that teams that have won, have had success, have had the refs set them. That's nothing new. All sports. But the bottom line is if you're a great player, you're a great player. And nobody's taking that away from Dwayne Wade. So when you talk about the 75 greatest NBA players ever, he's in that argument. So that's all you need to know. Pierce is too, but they're held in different ways. And I like Paul Pierce for the record. I think he was a great player. He didn't score better. And clutch, D Wade was clutch. What you talking about? D Wade defense too. Come on now. And in the matter of fact, Reggie Miller said about Anthony Edwards, he said he's more Dwayne Wade than he is Jordan. They still talk about Dwayne Wade's game. Somebody come out, Donovan Mitchell. D Wade would post you up, take you to the hole. I hear more people saying Dwayne Wade's name of people remind him than I hear Paul Pierce. But you keep on telling yourself that though. Keep on telling yourself that. I like Pierce too, but he wasn't in Dwayne Wade's class. Yep. And that was post Shaq too. And had they won in 2011, he'd have been the MVP of that finals. So this talking about, oh, yeah, they did win a ring off of him. Now, oh yeah, that Paul Pierce finals against San Antonio. Yeah, let me see, what year was that? Yeah, again, you don't really want to go there because all your arguments are going to get wasted. Boston had to go out and get Kevin Garnett, and they got Ray Allen, and Rondo came along. So until Wade had, everybody needed some helps. So don't come here with that weak sauce. So don't come here with that weak sauce because it's offensive to act like these cats didn't go three deep and didn't have team ups. Pierce wasn't winning jack without Kevin Garnett. And matter of fact, Antonio Walker, his running mate, Pierce said, if you want to win, team up with D Wade and go get it. Thank you. Case closed. Don't come in here trying to talk to somebody who remembers this stuff verbatim and bring in some history unless you're going to be prepared to get down. You know why they got ripped? You know why they got ripped? Because they're the ones who said we're going to be Kobe and Shaq 2.0. That's why. And T-Mac underachieved. And y'all was hyped up. There's a difference. Well, he wasn't 6-0, and that was a Popovich maneuver, and that one play changed the whole course of it. 5-1 ain't nothing to sneeze at, but that pop move by benching him and Bosh gets that rebound and hits Ray out in the corner, then that's on them. But he still got an incredible career. So I got to say about that. What we've seen from the Boston Big Three that they emerged, because it went from the 1-2 punch when you had D Wade and Shaq. You had to have, it ended up becoming three. The Nash Amari Stoudemire thing was a 2. You want to throw Sean Marion in there, you can. But it became we had to get 3. That became the standard. That's how teams moved forward. So you didn't win without having the horses. Now you could do like Derrick Rose, and you did get to Eastern Conference Finals, but then you got hurt, and you didn't have the firepower. So keep it going. You had OKC, who had young puppies who got to the finals. They were young. So doing all right. How you doing? So that's where I'm coming from. So when you're gonna bring that, you gotta bring it. Good to hear from you. Good to hear from you. So I'm going to start Kid. I'm going to bench CP3, and I'm going to cut Nash. This is me and my beret. Thank you very much. Yeah. Start Kid, bench CP, and I cut Nash. And I'll just explain it like this. Jason Kidd was a better point guard at that time period, almost a MVP worthy. Yeah, because he wasn't that dude. it wasn't the D'Antoni, and then we got the Phoenix, and he was not that dude like that. I don't have this long affair thing with Steve Nash where he was so great. CP3, New Orleans was bad. He just underachieved when it came money time, but he got further than Nash. He got to a finals, 2 wins in the finals. Steve Nash got 2 MVPs. But you ask most people, they'll tell you CP3 is closer to a top 5 point guard than Steve Nash is. There's no argument about Jason Kidd being in an argument. So go ahead, make it make sense. Your 2-time MVP is the only reason why we even have a case for him. So that's why I'm coming down with that. I mean, I give Nash his due. You make case top 10 point guard, but he ain't in that top 5. And he was never um Jason Kidd just was a better leader. I ain't got no problem with them cheering him on. I think that he's a great talent, great player. I can't deny that. But don't act like, first of all, maybe Shaq said the thing that got him fueled. He didn't play that great against the Lakers. Yeah, he won. He had some, but he got going these last 3 games against Minnesota. He was kind of flat footed. They were flat. So don't act like he's been Mr. Consistent. And don't act like SGA couldn't have gotten a co MVP this year. I think Jokic deserved it last year. But they let Joel Embiid cry and snivel about the process. And I think that's why, if you're critical of Jokic. I'm I'm gonna say it like this. I think he great. I think that uh they had nothing to do with that. I'll address that in just a second. Um Jokic, he was kind of flat this year in the postseason, but he brought it on. If he finishes up and goes on, it evens out. But don't act like the Lakers shouldn't have beaten him, and don't act like Minnesota looked like they were gonna beat him. He can't play like that after this series because he brought that on himself. Because the reason why you can be critical of Jokic is because of what you saw. If you grew up watching a Kareem, a Bill Russell, Shaquille O'Neal, Moses Malone, Olajuwon, you can be critical. Now, the Kevin Johnson thing is because he just was never, he had some moments, but I don't know if he ever, he never got to that level as a point guard where people were like, oh, Murray he's had some moments in this playoffs. He's just been streaky. He's good. He's good. He's good. Murray in the postseason is another level. He's had some moments. It's fuzzy though this year. It's a bit fuzzy. But he beat the Lakers twice. And hey, they remember him. Ask them what they think about Jamal Murray. And he hit that half shot for the halftime the other night. Don't sleep on Murray. Murray's something else. I just think Kevin Johnson, there were so many other point guards. He had charisma and he had a little style, but it he falls in the second tier slot. There were better point guards. Patrick Ewing, I think he was very winded, meaning he had stamina. That's probably one of his most overrated skills. Now he might sweat like a Baptist preacher, but that guy could stay around a long time. He's very athletic. In spurts, he has. He ain't consistent though. If he was consistent, they'd be beating teams up. Carmelo was a better player than KJ. You and OKC could use for what? What are you talking about? What do you mean? He ain't shut Cat down. Cat shuts his own self down. Cat's problem, he's a defensive liability somewhat. And on offense, he runs and wants to be a finesse outside shooter as opposed to taking to the hole trying to create to get some free throws. He limits himself. Gordon don't shut him down. Cat's got better skills than you give him credit for. This guy did score 60 something points this year. So I don't know. Go okay. You can't shut him down. Cat's one of those guys that, he can go 20 without trying, but he just doesn't have the momentum, the attitude to just. They're not going to let him go. Are you crazy? Because they can't get no equal value for him. You ain't letting Cat go. Yeah, you know, they're not mediocre talent. They soften the cakes. There's a difference. They're not mediocre talent. They just soft in the cakes. They lighten the trousers. Okay, they lighten the loafers. Okay, they're not mediocre talent. Because Gobert puts up numbers, does a thing here and there. Uh, Cat can score with some of the best of them. They just bums. They play at halftime if I feel like playing, and they soft. That's their problem. They ain't got. They not mediocre. They allow you to think they are because they not really. You can't really light a fire on them. They're like the charcoal that just doesn't burn. That's just how they are. Oh yeah, he'd be scary in Miami. He would thrive there actually. That's a good one there, Ted. I'll give you that one. He'd be a great fit. Because Miami would use him unlike how Milwaukee uses Brooke Lopez. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because then Bam goes back to his natural four. That would be a scary. That'd be a scary situation. And he's exactly what he'd look like Jokic in the East. Quiet as kept, he would. Minus the rebounds and the assists. But he'd get rebounds, not so much the assists. But he looked like a baby joke. And he would be a problem for Embiid over there. He would. He goes somewhere where he don't have to, he holds his own, but he's got cats that got the muscle and keep him. Oh yeah, he'd be. I mean, he just has to get mentally disciplined, and that's why they'll never make that happen to you. I'm gonna have to gaslight you on that one. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna set you up on that one because he's mentally, mentally, he's self-checked, and defensively, and his attitude is dead end. I like what you said, and I agree with you. Because if you're scoring and it just was that, but heat culture and have to get physical and stay consistent, yeah, I had to butter you up and hit the boom on that one. It made sense, and then reality hit. And I thought about Pat Riley in a news conference. Heck no, I never liked Gobert. I think he's soft. I like Donovan Mitchell for a second sidekick. Probably be the best sidekick cat. If he's a second option on the team, he's dangerous. As long as he ain't a number one, you're good. Because he can score. That's all you need. There's about 4 or 5 teams right now that had Donovan Mitchell. Their fate would be different. But him as a starter, you see where Cleveland is. No, I don't like Gobert at all. I think Rudy gone soft is what I call him. No, he ain't. Brunson is not the best player in this playoffs. He's one of the best going, but not the best. He wasn't used right in Dallas, but he had moments. No, I mean, you know what? And he's not really like James Harden, besides them being left handed, because he doesn't do all the Euro stepping. He has a physical presence. He has a workman like athleticism, which what's debatable? What's debatable? He can score flat out and he can move, but what's debatable? They didn't feed Joe. They didn't mm, I don't think he's the best player in the playoffs. I think he's in the argument. I don't know about the best player. He's put up numbers, but he's also gotten his behind blown out. So I don't know how that's the best player. He got blew out. One game to get blowed out by almost 40, and they come back and win by 30. That's not no. He looked flat in that game too. Um, no, they ironically, if as I told Ted, Kelly Oubre, especially Tobias Harris, if them busters could average 10 points a game, they win that series. That's all it took was, can you get 10? Y'all can average about 10, they win the series. That's all it was. All they had to do was stat pad and win the series. That's it. That's what Indiana's problem is. They're not consistent and they don't make them pay in the paint. Gotta make the Knicks pay in the paint. 7-man rotation, you feed the beast in the middle. But y'all sit out there shooting, playing tip for tat. That's why your butt's at home now. So that ain't no breaking news. The regular season is overrated, but it's usually like that anyway because you gotta remember something. People make adjustments. And the only thing that's overrated is the Eastern Conference. Let's just call it what it is. That's a sorry state of affairs over there. And that's what's overrated. People are hurt and they got hurt feelings and they ain't got their stuff together. And even if they were together, it's not that competitive over there. It really ain't. Now, I saw that yesterday, Ted. And I didn't really address that. He been acting blurry. He very blurry cat. I don't know about all that. That's the hype they say. I don't know. Does it really matter? Because if that was the case, Kansas City would have had home field advantage last year, and they didn't, and they proved that it really didn't. I'm glad you're back, man. Welcome back. The regular season matters only if you. Yeah, that's another term. We used to. My cousin would come with that term, blurry. Hmm. I had heard stuff about him, and see, the thing about it is this: the Mark, the what's his name, McCleary. He was messing with Rick James's widow, and he used to mess with Superhead, Karen Stevens. So, and all that stuff that be going on. Tell you about Hollywood, cheeks for checks, booty for the looty. Tell you, it's not the ref's fault. He makes some bad choices and decisions. His head coach doesn't know how to coach him up. Don't say that. I'm a Bills fan, and I'm not gonna let you say that crap. He's made some what's up? He's made some boneheaded choices and decisions. he's a great talent. However, his mental capacity is suspect, and he doesn't finish well. You know, it's not about that. Not hardly. I disagree. Because explain the 49ers choking those two Super Bowls. What was a referee? What call did I see in them Super Bowls? Nothing. He is in the GOAT conversation. It's 3-2 in the Super Bowl now. That's what it comes down. Ted is nailing it. Ted nailing it. You know, because he made that one catch. He has that aura about him, that personality. And he's got and to Odell's credit, that Super Bowl. He looked great in that Super Bowl till he got hurt. He would have been MVP. They were going to run Cincinnati off the field. He was balling in that Super Bowl. That wasn't that long ago. Yeah, I know they did. Sometimes you just don't win. Yeah, I am. Again, I don't really read a lot into stuff. Sometimes it's just people like Patrick Mahomes that knows how to go to another gear when it comes money time. The great ones always find a way. They don't, you know, and they gonna make it known where they are. Mahomes had everything stacked against him. They beat Tua. That was a big thing. Beat Josh Allen on the road in Buffalo. Beat Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Come from behind Super Bowl. What else you need? Do I need to say anything else about the greatness of what they can do, the dominance? That speaks for itself. Do you think it's also because of his? Oh yeah. I mean, so he always aligns himself with some models and messing with Kim Kardashian. He's smart. He was probably the first click, the first click stream NFL player because he came around the time and he came around. I mean, everything fall into place where people care about him, and he really has sold himself as a media brand. So he's had some moments like that. He's had those moments. Well, how did it turn out? Kansas City got two rings, and Tyreek Hill gets knocked out in the first round. So, tell me how that turned out. Tyreek might be a MVP candidate worthy, but he's done as far as going anywhere in the postseason. Did you ever go? Okay. No, I don't do that mess. I'm a brother. I don't do that. How many black dudes do you see jumping through tables on the Buffalo? Nobody do that. Well, tell me, Tom, what you mean? Because I mean, it says it's Jesus different. Oh yeah, well, a guy like Mahomes proves that point. Brady used to do it. Montana did it. Dale Green. There ain't too many people I'm gonna take over Dale Green because Dale Green not only could run you down, beat you different ways, was one of the most exciting players I ever saw. And his Williams was bad, but Dale Green was like I seen Dale Green run Tony Dorsett and Eric Dickerson down in his prime, so that alone. Yeah, that was against the Houston Oilers, 92. Frank Reich led the comeback. hmm That's a good question. I'm going to go with I think Champ is underrated, but I got to give it to Rivers by just a hair. But it's close though. Yep. Quarterback league, running back league, wide receiver league, all things on offense. Actually, to be honest with you, it's a tight end league. It's always the quarterbacks, but it's the tight ends. Nowadays, the tight ends. I say Reeves by hair. I gotta give it. I think I like Bruce's speed a lot, but Torrey Holt was kind of underappreciated. I gotta give Terry Holt just a slight edge in that argument. Yeah. Bruce had the speed though, but Holt was underappreciated though. I think it's more of a tight end league now. Obviously, it's always a quarterback league, but it's more of the tight ends today. They're making tight ends front and center, and that's been more the thing. That's how I look at it. Okay, one at a time. If I want to do this, I gotta go with Edge. Deuce was great, but Deuce had a lot more to work with. He had to. He was. It was a different focal point. They were both focal points, but Edge really came up big. It really came up big. Oh, Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin. Carter scored, and he was big time for what he did, but Michael Irvin was a difference maker for the Cowboys. The only times they win without Michael Irvin. Yeah, I think Torrey was nice. I like Torrey. But yeah, I gotta give Edge. Edge is one very underappreciated. I like Deuce a lot too. Because as a matter of fact, the fact that Deuce stood up when they get drafted Reggie Bush, but they were so stacked though. But I gotta go to Edge. I gotta go to Edge. I give Edge to Edge. Just move me a little bit more in a different way. But it ain't that far off though. It ain't that far off. Ooh. Um, I like Reggie Wayne a lot, but Rod was underrated of speedster, and he really fit what the Broncos did. And I gotta say, he probably was a little bit more important than Reggie. I gotta give it to Rod Smith, but I like Reggie a lot. But see, Rod Smith was an integral part of what Elway was trying to do. Well, NFL, Joe Namath, O.J. Simpson. NBA, J.J. Redick. There's a lot of them. A lot of them. You forgot to mention Shannon Sharp. He belongs in that. Um, was it Mackey? What's his name? We used to play for the Colts back then. He belongs in the tight end too. There's a few cats. But let me say this about the tight end position. It's been more prominent in the last 15, 20 years. Because obviously with Gronk and Tony G, Kelsey, I remember Winslow very well back in the early 80s. Whitney ain't in that argument. He was good. He wasn't in an argument. He was good, but he wasn't in that class. Old boy for the 49ers right now. If the 49ers won the Super Bowl, he'd be in an argument too. And y'all not giving him no due. He got handles right now. It's just that because the more whack quarterbacks and whack shenanigans is holding him from getting an acknowledgement. Because he covers a lot of ground. What's his butt right now for the 49ers? Tight end. That's a bad white boy too. Yeah, that's what's hurting. No, I'm talking about the cat that's with the 49ers now, the tight end. Jimmy Graham was good, not great. Sterling Sharp was a receiver. Yeah, Greg is what I call favorite left tackle of all time. I think I want to say there's a line to pick from. That's kind of a I had to come back on that as a receiver. Yeah, Kittle. Kittle, if they won a Super Bowl, Kittle would be mentioned. There's a lot of tight ends. I'm telling you, tight ends is what's up. No, I'm talking about Kittles. I ain't talking about that. He's a receiver too. I like Keenan was cool. But no, Kittle got some handles. It's about the tight ends the last 10, 15 years, though. Non quarterbacks. If we going to hype up, tight ends have been getting more juice than ever. Yeah, I like Keenan McCardle. But anyway, Graham was kind of like a broke Tony Gonzalez. It was nice, though. That guy, to me, was better than Gronk, talent wise. It's just that he, threw it away. But skill wise, that dude was a beast. You could do a lot with him. Could have done a lot with him. No, he ain't got no ring. All zone defense is overrated. But it's the way the powers that be want the game to be played. Kittles needs a ring to be in that class. And having them old joker quarterbacks don't help his cause. I think he has the talent, but he has to have the jury. He'll tell you that too. Zone is like the lazy man's way of, it's a lazy man's way, but that's what the powers that be want. That's analytics. That's what they do. Yeah, well, but again, um if you don't win and you're with the top arguably the best team, you can make the case the 49ers been the best team or in that top 2, 3 argument the last 5, 6 years, and you got 2 Super Bowl trips and all the NFC Pro appearances, and you don't win, you get overlooked. And he's gonna get overlooked till they win a ring. I think JJ. I think JJ was better. But they weren't giving no MVP though. Uh, The zone can be manipulated if you got the right pieces, but you gotta have the right pieces in place. Yeah, well, we'll see. Tatum is carries even worse situation than Kittles because he not only is he one of the top jersey sellers, and he's got a lot of stats and success. He plays for the Boston Celtics, so his carries way more weight than Kittles. It runs deeper. Kittles will still probably be a Hall of Famer, maybe, and it may or may not make fanfare, but Tatum playing for Boston, and they want to put him on the same table with Bird and Paul Pierce. You know they do. Well, it's tough to win chips. Let's just keep it 100. When you win, you win. You can never say because some teams, some schools have better luck than others. You don't have to use zone anymore. You just got to shoot the ball. What did LeBron James say to JJ Redick? He said it about Steph Curry. He said he changed a 20-point lead. You shoot your way back in. There's no zone defense. You just shoot your way back in. Oh, geez, something's supposed to be. Don't look alike like that. Luka's not that likable. He's a great talent. I don't know how likable he is. I ain't heard nothing about Vince Young. But they shouldn't have never messed with Reggie Bush's trophy to begin with. Yeah, some don't like Luka. I don't think so. I mean, that's part of it. But again, they're not, remember, they're no different than the American counterpart, except they're not American. And some people take exception to that. So I think that works against them sometimes too. So I did too. Now that might have been one of the most honest things you said since you've been on. He had all the toolage. He had the hype, but and he went to the right situation. He went to New Orleans. Sean Payton, Drew Brees, Mark Colston turned out to be a great receiver, and but it just didn't. It sometimes the next level, and plus these guys are equipped for you now. They got spies at the linebacker core. They got ways to pinpoint what you do. So he just never got his mechanics right. Yeah. The Bills got him, played with Kansas City, and he just didn't really go nowhere, you know. So he has speed, but you gotta have drive, you gotta have attitude. And sometimes these guys kind of burn out after a little bit. So yeah. Yeah, like Plaxico. I just don't think he always put his all in just trying to be the best player he could be. Because I think he could have been even better. He had a good skill set. And he was a good commentator too. Josh Gordon should have been a Hall of Famer. Should have been. That dude was headed for a Hall of Fame career. Anyway, I don't know. Especially he was good enough to be a Hall of Famer. Special to me is like Randy Moss. I don't know if I looked at him like that. I looked at him as a Hall of Fame bound. I don't know if I looked at him as special. But I thought he had a chance to be a Hall of Famer if he'd have kept on going where he was going. But there are very few that I look at as special. That's just me though. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I thought he should have been a Hall of Famer. So either way, we both thought he should have been better than he was. And I remember when he was with New England, and I think it was Skip Bayless and Shannon saying he was running like he had a piano on his back, and that was the sad reality because he fell off so bad, and he was good. I mean, he just always got in trouble for stupid stuff. Now I'm gonna tell you who I thought was special was your boy. Your boy was special. Your boy was special. Your boy AB, that was special because he could run. Antonio Brown was special. He is quick, athletic, agile, all that. But that was special. because he's the one that I look and go, oh, so pretty much. I mean, if you get 2 rings and you play in New York and they still call you a borderline Hall of Famer, that means you ain't that good. There's a lot of people ain't been feeling him, so. So anyway, I think I'm gonna call it a night. I've been here almost 2 hours. Only in the postseason, not in the regular season. But the problem with Phillip Rivers, he just never, they would beat legit teams and they lose to mediocre teams. And he was a broke Junior Whopper Brett Favre, gunslinger, who just kind of wilded, and he never got what he could have gotten. He just was kind of a wild, and so that's how I look at him. I thought he was a mediocre regular season quarterback who went from Clark Kent to almost Superman in the postseason when he did, but he was hit and miss. I just thought he was always a hit and miss dude. Threw a lot of bad picks. Well, let me put it to you like this. Remember, he had that consecutive game streak, and Geno Smith, he got benched for Geno Smith. Can I drop the mic now? Is that a mic drop? He got benched for Geno Smith. That's before Geno got to Seattle and became like a late older wonder man. But Geno almost became like the Steve Nash of quarterbacks. No one saw it coming. And he's kind of reverted back to his old self. But remember, Eli is one of those guys that if we didn't have the postseason, he 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 would have been like just a bad journeyman, a real bad journeyman. Because his regular season he's better than what Mac Jones will ever be. But he ain't that far from him in a way too. So okay. Shout out to her. Shout out to JJ. So I'm not the biggest Eli Manning fan, but he is coming big in the postseason. Okay. Shout out to Jan Jackson. Anyway, this time I'm gonna get ready to call it a night. Appreciate everybody coming through. A lot of great takes, great thoughts, great conversation. I welcome it. And as I always say, God willing, I'm back in 24 hours. Um, Appreciate everybody. Great comments tonight. A lot of great questions. We covered a lot more football than usual, but hey, it's more intriguing than what's going on for basketball right now. Peyton Manning, one of the top 2 or 3 greatest regular season quarterbacks ever. His brother, one of the top 5 or 6 greatest postseason ever. So make it make sense because that's kind of how it goes. Thank you. Appreciate you. You are too. Yeah, before I go, yeah, that's how I look at him. I mean, if Eli and Peyton connected together as one, you'd have the greatest quarterback ever. That's how the yin and the yang is. And they each got 2 rings off of Brady. And Brady still got him beat by 3, but that's a whole nother video, another story. But that's just the facts though. So um not much more to say about that. Yeah, so like I said, I'll be back tomorrow. God willing. I appreciate everybody coming through. Get out here and get a little something. So appreciate your peace the best. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay warm, stay true. We catch you. All right, I'm out. Thank you.